All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and so honored to be right after Kaipacha. I wanted to be there for his presentation, couldn't make it, and I'm sure it was incredible. So it's 3:33 Pacific time, perfect time to start. Jupiter in Scorpio. Um, that's the topic for this presentation. And I am really excited talking about that. I have got a lot of Scorpio in my own personal chart. And I personally, as a Scorpio, very looking forward for Scorpio to be spending a year in the sign of Scorpio, for me personally, and then for all of us collectively. And today I'm going to talk about my perspective of what Jupiter and Scorpio represents for all of us collectively, and also the timing of Jupiter going into Scorpio and spending a year in Scorpio 2018, which there's some other elements happening that year as well, especially with Mars, which is the co-ruler of Scorpio. So I'm going to talk about that, just what's going on with Mars that year as well, and Pluto as the other ruler of Scorpio. How is that helping us to expand and grow individually and collectively? And especially in the areas of transformation, inner alchemy, and self-mastery, which the higher expression of Scorpio is about that, truly. So that will be what I'm going to be covering today. And I'll start with some of the slides that I have. And here we go. All right. So once I'm on this, I can't really see the chat or anything. So Linda, you can let me know if there are any questions or if something is not clear. Just chime in and let me know. But you can see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So Jupiter in Scorpio, it's really right around the corner, less than a month from today, October 10th, which is another very interesting alignment with the numbers. 1010 is when Jupiter decides to switch and go into Scorpio. And it's going to stay there until November 8th of 2018, which is another very interesting alignment there with the numbers of all the eights. So, like I said, expand through inner alchemy and self-mastery, and what inner alchemy really means to me when it comes to our own self-transformation is working with our shadows. As we know, Scorpio represents the shadowy parts of our psyche, the shadowy parts of our inner being, the depth of the water, so to speak. And one of the powers of Scorpio is the ability to work with the shadow, is the ability to go into the depth of the shadow of our inner psyches and transform that into personal power, really. And that's Pluto also, as the ruler of Scorpio, represents that personal power, the personal power that comes from the process of transformation, from the process of really accepting, embracing, and working with all of the aspects that make us who we are individually. And that really leads to self-mastery. And it's interesting right now that we are in this Virgo phase. The sun is in Virgo. We're going to have a new moon in Virgo on Tuesday, next Tuesday. All of our personal planets are going to be in Virgo once Venus moves into Virgo next week. And that's, again, not a coincidence. Jupiter is transiting right into Scorpio less than a month after all this Virgo energy. And Virgo is about integration. It's about implementation, purification, and perfection. And not perfection from a place of something is wrong and we need to fix it, but the perfection of oneself, self-mastery, we can call it, really looking at what is it in me, what shadows are in me that can use some alchemy. Not that they're bad, not that we need to push them away, but we can work with those shadows, and through the process of inner alchemy, transform them into something that is very empowering, and therefore mastering our own selves. And we all have our own individual areas that we are working on. And I feel that right now, with everything that opened up for us after the eclipses in August, and especially the solar eclipse that we just had on the 21st, that was such a huge opening. That was such a huge catalyst for incredible transformation that I know many of us are experiencing individually. And we see it in the world as well. All the events that are taking place, things are being shifted pretty radically. And sometimes we need to experience this sense of destruction, and that's Pluto, right? That the power of destruction, burning things into ashes in order for the new to arise, the phoenix rising up from the ashes. That's the symbol of Pluto and Scorpio to some degree. And so it's now we're moving through the process of integrating all that has opened up for us, all that was brought to us through the portal of the eclipse. So it's very necessary for us to ground right now with this Virgo energy, to integrate, to digest, to implement, and then to have clarity. What are the adjustments that I need to make in my life? What are the necessary changes? Some of the changes are small, some of the changes are more significant, and again, individually and collectively. But I believe that in order for us to experience big changes on the collective stage, on the global stage, we must start from the one, the single, the individual, and then we come together from a more empowered place. And the more of us learn how to master ourselves as individuals, then the collective shifts are that much more powerful, are that much more profound, and can be grounded and be implemented to create a better reality, so to speak, a better world. And so we're going to experience a lot more of that in 2018 with Jupiter moving into Scorpio and really giving us that lesson and teaching us how to expand through that alchemical process, to not be afraid of it, to really find the truth. Jupiter is the truth seeker, and seeking our own truth by going deep into the shadowy places of Scorpio without any fear, and to cultivate more power from that place, and therefore become the masters of our own individual lives. And so just a little bit about Jupiter here. What I found, this image really struck me as very interesting, and also there's some Scorpionic power in that image. And to me, it's a very nice combination of Jupiter being the king of the gods. It's the ruler of the skies and astronomy. It's the biggest planet of our solar system, and there's something to be said about the impact that Jupiter has as the biggest planet of our solar system. And every year it moves into a new sign, and with that transition, with that transit, there's a big lesson for us. There's an expansion, there's growth, there's a level of truth that we can reach within ourselves by paying attention to what Jupiter is doing, what Jupiter is telling us as the king of the gods, the ruler of the skies. And it definitely has a lot of influence on the way we grow, on the way we learn, and what we value as truth. Also, the symbols of Jupiter, which I just learned this, that the eagle is one of the symbols of Jupiter. I was very surprised to find out about that, because also the higher expression of Scorpio is the eagle. Scorpio is the scorpion. That's how it starts. But Scorpio, as the transformative force that it is, really goes through that transformation from the scorpion, which we can say is the lower expression of Scorpio. I don't necessarily believe in good or bad. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's negative. It's just the evolutionary stages. And I believe that each sign, as the archetype that it is, has those evolutionary stages. And with Scorpio, we really see the more shadowy part of the Scorpio, the hidden, the stinger of the scorpion. A lot of people associate the sign of Scorpio with that creature that can be very intimidating and poisonous to some degree. Death, right? You get bit by a scorpion, you can die. And the evolutionary stages of Scorpio is that it leads us to the eagle, actually. That's the highest expression of Scorpio. And the eagle is the creature that actually sees everything from a higher perspective. And that is so much Jupiter-like. Jupiter is the higher perspective. It's the higher mind. It's the one that is able to zoom out from, okay, this is what's happening here and now, and to really look at the bigger picture. And that's the kind of process that we can go through our own alchemical process, through our own process of transformation, when we start to really master ourselves and our lives, and to zoom out and to really see ourselves and life and the world from a higher perspective, from an eagle's point of view, which can see the entire picture. And that's the expansion. That's Jupiter. That's the lesson that Jupiter brings us, to really find that perspective within ourselves, when we can zoom out and see the bigger picture of life. And that gives us great wisdom, and really seeing the truth about reality and seeing the truth about what's going on, because it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and what's happening, and really be convinced that this is the truth and the only truth. But if we zoom out, if we really expand our perspective, we can see, wow, there's so much more than just what I am seeing and experiencing right here, right now. And again, that great wisdom, that great knowledge, which very much is a Jupiter it's associated with Jupiter, give us a different perspective on life. And it does bring a sense of more peace, I believe, a sense of more calm, when we're able to zoom out in this way and to look at life from a higher perspective. And the other symbols of Jupiter is the shield, as you can see the image holding it, which I see the association to Scorpio with the shield is, with scorpion, that they bite, they have this sting, and that can be like their shield, so to speak. But it doesn't have to be a poisonous shield to keep something away or to keep people away. But Scorpio is definitely a sign that teaches us boundaries. And that is something very important that a lot of us are coming into the realization, we can say. And I know for many people, that can be the adjustment that they're making in their lives right now, really realizing, I need to have some boundaries in my life, that honoring myself, my well-being, again, seeing life from a higher perspective and what is really needed, that is not so personal sometimes, and learning how to discern, which is coming to us right now with all this Virgo energy, discernment, what works for me in my life and what doesn't work for me in my life. And therefore setting clear and healthy boundaries. Scorpio is very good with teaching us that. And Jupiter in Scorpio is, the growth that can come from learning how to set up boundaries that really honor ourselves and our well-being. The thunderbolt, I see it as the power of the truth. With Jupiter in Scorpio, that can be a very penetrating truth. And it can feel like a thunderbolt, this awakening to some degree. And even though Uranus and Aquarius are more associated with the thunderbolt, I definitely see the power of Scorpio being the penetrating force that is very much very much carries this energy of a thunderbolt that can really wake us up to something greater. And oak tree is definitely strength. And Jupiter being the king of the gods, and seeing the depictions of Jupiter or Zeus in Greek mythology, it's this very strong, very stoic almost. It is the kings after all. And Scorpio, there's definitely this element that is coming to us, growth and expansion through cultivating, developing so much of that strength, the oak tree strength that is so rooted in the center that nothing can really shake an oak tree, a strong oak tree that is rooted to the ground. Nothing can really shake that tree. And there's an element of strength, of power, as I was speaking about the personal power. And I like the image of an oak tree when we can connect to that within ourselves and see ourselves as that oak tree, and the power that it has, the power that it gives us, the sense of having the roots right into the ground, yet expanding and so much and growing so much from that place that is very much rooted and nourished from deep within. So before we go into 2018, I wanted to really touch on what's occurring right here at the end of September, because as we know, with astrology, nothing is a singular event that, okay, Jupiter is just moving into Scorpio. Well, okay, what's happening with Jupiter before it's moving into Scorpio? And that's very interesting to me. What's happening less than about 2 weeks before Jupiter goes into Scorpio. And on September 28th, we are having an opposition of Jupiter and Uranus in Aries, 27 degrees of Aries to 27 degrees of Libra, as Jupiter about to end his cycle here in Libra. And that's very interesting to me. And now to add another factor to this opposition is that same day, the ruler or the co-ruler, because I really see both Mars and Pluto as the rulers of Scorpio. Mars being the older ruler of Scorpio before the discovery of Pluto, but I'm going to speak on both of them. Maybe pay a little bit more attention to Pluto, but nevertheless, Pluto, that day of the opposition, is going direct. So Pluto has stopped. Pluto is stationary right now, getting ready to go direct. And on the 28th, Pluto is going direct. And that's the ruler of Scorpio getting ready for the transition of Jupiter moving into Scorpio. And then Jupiter opposing Uranus. And this is the last opposition that we're going to experience this year of Jupiter and Uranus, which has been a very, I know, challenging to some degree for many people, this opposition, and also an opportunity for such massive awakening with Uranus involved and Uranus in Aries. It's been the awakening of the self since Uranus went into Aries in 2010. And so there has been this big awakening of self and the truth of what it is that I need to find balance in my life. Jupiter moving through Libra for this past year is teaching us a balance in ways that help us to expand, that help us to grow. Where is it in my life? What is it in my life that is out of balance? And especially, and I know Carpaccia has had a presentation about the Aries Libra axis, and especially the balance between the self and relationships. Relationships is a big theme for us. It has been throughout 2017, and it will continue to be a big theme for all of us in 2018 with Scorpio, with Jupiter and Scorpio as well. But it's the more intimate level of relationships. Like, how do we really create intimacy in our relationships? And that begins with, how do I create intimacy with myself? How much am I willing to be vulnerable How much am I willing to let the other person see me, see my true self, Uranus in Aries, the true authentic individual that I am, without masking anything, without hiding anything? Can I really be intimate with another person in that way? Can I really let somebody else see me in that way? And how to balance myself, my individual authentic expression, my own independence. Uranus in Aries is so much about, I just want to be independent. And then Jupiter in Libra is this, wait a second, but I really want to come together. I really want to form relationships. And so much of what we have been experiencing is, well, what are the relationships that really align with who I am, with my authentic expression? Which relationships help me to expand and to grow, and that help me to keep things in balance? People in my life that contribute to a sense of balance and harmony and peace. With Libra, relationships that bring beauty into my life. And the opposition to Uranus can be some shocking or unpredictable realizations regarding some of relationships that we have in our lives, and just people that we connect with. And we are, a lot of us, many of us, realizing what really works with the self, what doesn't work, and therefore what needs to be cleaned up, especially with Virgo right now. What do we need to clean up here? And on the 28th, we have Mars and Venus, both of them in Virgo, very close conjunction here, 10 degrees with Virgo, 14 degrees Virgo, Mars is 14 degrees Virgo. And so one needs to be cleaned up. Again, relationships, a lot of masculine and feminine, how to balance it, how to find balance between the two within ourselves, the feminine and the masculine, and then in our relationships, and especially with the opposite gender. So that's how Jupiter is finishing its cycle of Libra, with this opposition that can definitely bring about some shocking realizations, maybe unpredictable events, awakenings, people coming into our lives, people leaving our lives. We decide to leave. We decide to take action that is really rooted in reality. I see Mars moving through Virgo. There's a lot of reality kind of a decision making. Very important to be grounded in that, especially as we move into Jupiter in Scorpio phase. So we are going to experience a lot of water and earth, which will bring about a bit more stability now, after having so much of air and fire for a while. So that's just what occurring here at the end of September, right before the shift. And on October 10th, this is where Jupiter enters Scorpio. Jupiter is 0 degree of Scorpio on October 10th. Basically, Jupiter is the one setting up the stage for the Scorpio season that will begin shortly after Jupiter has transitioned into Scorpio. So we're seeing here, Sun is still in Libra, Mercury is still in Libra, Mars and Venus are traveling very close, tight together in Virgo, which again will bring a lot of stability during these times of some significant transitions, especially with Jupiter moving into Virgo. And 2018 is going to bring about some significant changes and significant transformations that I feel many of us are going to experience individually and collectively. Now, I want to touch on something here that, again, the connection between what's happening or what has taken place years ago and what's happening right now. And I want to speak about the connection of Saturn and Jupiter and the spot that Jupiter now is going to cover for the next year in Scorpio, that in October 5th of 2012. So if you can take yourself back to 5 years ago, around the same time, actually, October 5th of 2012 is when Saturn went into Scorpio. Saturn spent more time in Scorpio because Saturn spends about 2.5 years in each sign. It's slower than Jupiter. Jupiter spends a year. And so from October 5th of 2012 until December 23rd of 2014 is when Saturn spent time in Scorpio. And Jupiter is going to cover that territory with less time, just in about 13 months. But there's significance to that. And when it comes to our own individual lives, going back to what took place during those years, those couple of years, 2.5 years, and what's happening right now for you. When Saturn was transiting Scorpio, we definitely received a lot of lessons, scorpionic lessons, very intense times for many of us during Saturn in Scorpio. That can feel harsh. There was a lot of inner lessons that we experienced with Saturn in Scorpio. Some type of a reconstruction that took place during those years with Saturn being in Scorpio. But mainly, there were lessons that we received, scorpionic lessons that can feel intense, that can feel very penetrating, that can feel sometimes too much, just overwhelming. Nevertheless, those were lessons that paved the way or were the catalyst for that deep transformation within ourselves. Many of us perhaps started digging a little bit deeper during those years and finding things that have been hidden for a long time. Scorpio definitely deals with some subconscious and unconscious elements of our psyche and our life. And Saturn coming into Scorpio there's no escape now from those hidden realms of life. And some of the lessons perhaps were pretty harsh in that regard, of some of the reflection maybe that we received during that time, to see all that is hidden, to see all that needs to be transformed, all that we deem as shadows maybe that we don't want to look at. But Scorpio comes in, and especially Saturn in Scorpio, and it's the taskmaster with Saturn. It's karma. So there was a lot of karma that was brought up from the depth of our psyche, and we looking maybe at lifetimes of karma that were brought up by that transit. And it definitely manifested it could have manifested in a form of relationships, of other people, of some elements of ourselves that just came up for us to transform and to work with. So just wanted to put this out there and to invite those that are listening to go back to 2012 to 2014, see what got stirred up back then, what occurred in your life. And now with Jupiter covering that territory is the opportunity now to grow from that place. So it's not like things are going to repeat, because we're looking at Jupiter coming in and not Saturn. So if Saturn is the harsh teacher, Jupiter is more of, okay, what is the opportunity now? What is the wisdom that we can now utilize? What is the wisdom? What is the truth? What is the truth that we received from those lessons from dealing with that karma, from dealing with that with those deep issues. Now, what is the opportunity that is opening up for me from all that I've experienced during that time period? What is growing now in my life? Where is the opportunity to expand and to live more fully from a place of higher truth? What is the higher perspective now of the ego that I have on that which occurred during that time, that in a way is coming back to present itself, but in a different way? And there's a higher perspective that can be now utilized as the higher expression of Scorpio being the ego. And perhaps there's a different way now to approach maybe even the same situation or a similar situation, a similar dynamic, a similar relationship, something that has some sort of similarity to what occurred back then. But now you're looking at a different horizon. Jupiter is the search for truth. What is on the horizon? And there's different horizon right now than the horizon that we saw back in 2012 and 2013, 2014. And maybe it is the same horizon, but there's a different perspective looking over that horizon. There's more with Jupiter and Scorpio. There is that personal power that perhaps in the past there was not enough confidence or not enough self-power, personal power to go after that horizon. And now coming into this cycle, there's so much more of that personal power to go and reach those horizons that you see for yourself. And we're gonna be going through that all year long in 2018, almost the entire year until November of 2018. So wanted to bring this up because I feel it's important and gives us something to work with also. And for each of you, if you can recall those years and anything specific perhaps that occurred during that time, or maybe just in general, where you're at in your life back then, in your own process and journey of transformation and self-mastery, seeing where you are today, what is the lesson, what is the bigger perspective that you can see things with right now, and where is the opportunity to grow and expand and cultivate more of that self-mastery. Where is that taking you? And where is that will take you? That's for you to decide. So a few dates here that I wanted to share when it comes to 2018 and what Jupiter is doing when it comes to the topic of our own transformation, the inner alchemy, and the self-mastery. So we've got 3 dates for Jupiter trining Neptune, and that will be a beautiful time for all of us to embody that higher wisdom of Jupiter and Scorpio, with Neptune and Pisces being the oneness consciousness, unity consciousness with our own spiritual nature that can very much help us to grow and to master ourselves. So you can mark those dates on your calendar or just remember them. At the end of this year, December 2nd, May of 2018, and then August of 2018, we're going to have 3 trines, water trines of Jupiter and Neptune. And I truly see that as an opportunity, an invitation for a spiritual an expansion collectively, especially with Neptune and Pisces. The collective unconscious is involved here. Jupiter and Scorpio is the penetration into the collective unconscious. It's the element of transformation, with Jupiter being in Scorpio, the element of transformation coming in a very harmonious aspect with Neptune in Pisces, to help awaken, to help penetrate the collective unconsciousness, to help break down perhaps some of the illusions. So Neptune in Pisces, there's definitely there can be elements of deception, this can be element of illusion, and Jupiter in Scorpio is bringing that, and with a penetrating force of a higher perspective, of an ability and willingness to expand and to grow, but really looking at the truth and the deeper truth. Scorpio, it's always what's underneath the surface, you guys. What is the elephant that we're not talking about? We can't be in fantasy land anymore. With Neptune and Pisces, it's like we can't run away, we can't check out, we can't be in denial. Jupiter in Scorpio there's no denial anymore. What's really going on underneath the surface? Again, individually and collectively, but the collectively is the individually. I can't separate the two. So we each play our part. So with those alignments, Jupiter trining Neptune, during those times, it's a harmonious way for us to get into all this deeper elements and to find a spiritual truth, Neptune and Pisces, that helps us to grow and expand into our personal power, Jupiter in Scorpio, and to really find how to work with our spiritual nature to help us grow in a different way. With Jupiter, there's new opportunities. Again, there are new horizons. Things are not going to be the same, and it's important that we learn how to go with those changeable realities with ease and grace, and to not resist those changes and the things that we need to change, even when it comes to our own spiritual nature. Things do evolve constantly. Jupiter in Scorpio, as in general, is really going to help us to see that more, to live that more, the power of constant transformation, and how much we grow from that. And the more we let go, which is another element of Neptune and Pisces, to really let go and surrender to this incredible growth, the powerful growth that is going to come from the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio. So I would sum it up, with Jupiter in Scorpio, Neptune in Pisces and trining, is letting go and surrender to the elements, the power, the forces beyond your control. Scorpio, Pluto, 8th house, forces beyond your control. You got to let go and surrender. You've got to let go and surrender to that, and trust, trust in your heart. Let's remember that Jupiter is so much the element of faith. Is to have faith and to empower yourself through developing more faith by letting go of control, letting go and surrender to spirit, so to speak, Neptune and Pisces. And then Jupiter is sextiling Pluto, and the trines and the sextiles are harmonious aspects. And Jupiter sextiling Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio, is definitely something to note. Right at the beginning of the year, we have in January, April, and then in September, 3 times that Jupiter is going to sextile Pluto. And same thing, just to bring the element of personal power, which can come, like I said, through destruction, and the phoenix rising up from the ashes, something that is burning to ashes and coming back anew with so much more strength, like the oak tree, again, with an expanded perspective on life, like the eagle, So those times also immense amount of transformation, of growth, and something to pay those days and the weeks around those days to pay attention to. Jupiter in Scorpio in a very harmonious aspect to the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto. And then just this right here at the bottom, Jupiter trining Chiron, right at the beginning of November of 2018, which will be a week before Jupiter exiting Scorpio. It's going to make a trine to Chiron right at the last degrees of Pisces. Jupiter is going to be in the last degrees of Scorpio. And after going through so much of growth and transformation during the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio in 2018, I see that as a beautiful healing time. Jupiter trining Chiron is really letting the truth that we are going to be uncovering during this time, during that year, helping that to heal something maybe even deeper within ourselves. And we're looking again, Chiron in Pisces, the collective unconscious. There will be a massive healing happening throughout the year of 2018 and going really into the depth. Like we're looking at some serious depth in 2018 with this Pisces energy and Jupiter in Scorpio and the water trines. And then I'm going to show in just a little bit that the North Node is going to move into Cancer just a few days after this trine to Chiron. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have a very emotional time here with all this water energy and some deep, deep emotions. As we know, with Pisces and with Scorpio, nothing is on the surface whatsoever. But that's what's going to bring so much juice and goodness into our lives, really, and into our relationships when we are willing to face everything and the depth of our own soul, right? Scorpio, it's our soul, it's our unconscious elements, and let's just bring that into our conscious awareness and heal ourselves, heal our relationships, and help the planet and the collective to heal with ease and grace. Okay, so this is just a day here that I wanted to show the chart. This is October 26, a couple of weeks after Jupiter moves into Libra, so October 26th of 2017. This is just a month away. The Sun and Jupiter are going to conjunct in Scorpio, the beginning of Scorpio. And I wanted to show that a couple of days before that, Mars has moved into Libra. So at the end of October, Mars is going to finish this Virgo cycle and move into Libra. And I want to talk about Mars because it's the co-ruler of Scorpio. So Mars is going to move into Libra and spend another month and a half there. And we have this day, I something intuitively was telling me that there is something significant that day, October 26, when the Sun conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio. Mars has just moved into Libra, and then the other ruler of Scorpio, Pluto, is squaring Venus in Libra. It's 2 degrees apart. So the couple of days after that, it's going to be an exact square of Jupiter, of Pluto and Venus. And so again, the relationship element is not going away. I know many of us are redefining what kind of relationships we want in our lives, what works and what doesn't work, what is my truth, what is really feeding me, the depth of who I am, which relationships are really aligning with my soul, not just on the surface, but the depth of who I am, really aligning with my soul. This is a great time for us to merge and to bond, with Scorpio involved, with our soul family. With Mars being in Libra, also Venus squaring Pluto, whatever doesn't serve or is not aligning with your soul has to be looked at. Again, the penetration of Scorpio, like there's nowhere to hide. There's just nowhere to hide. And to be vulnerable with ourselves and with one another. Again, I'm going to bring up the element of intimacy. It's Jupiter in Scorpio, and Scorpio teaches us intimacy and true intimacy that has to come from, let me reveal all of myself. And but this day, I just wanted to show that with the transition of Mars into Libra, the conjunction of the Sun and Jupiter in Scorpio, Mercury is in Scorpio, and so when the Venus squaring Pluto, relationships are going to be highlighted, and the connections that we form. And this is setting up the stage for bigger things that are going to emerge, because the connections that we make, the people that we connect with and collaborate with, and especially intimately, are very significant. And what we can grow in our own lives and collectively really have a lot to do with the kind of relationships that we form, and the kind of the people that we choose to bond with and to connect with. And that's really important to pay attention to. And so the other thing here in 2018, with Jupiter being in Scorpio, I wanted to show when Jupiter actually is going to go retrograde. So Jupiter in retrograde is going to be March 8th, and it's going to be in retrograde until July 10th. Now, two things that are occurring also around that same time is that Pluto, again, the ruler of Scorpio, is entering the third decan of Capricorn. Not going to get too much into that. I know that we are about to close the hour here, but that's significant because Pluto is a very slow-moving planet. It's been in Capricorn since 2008, and it's moving finally into the third decan, the last 10 degrees of Capricorn. So there's a significance here with the fact that Jupiter is going retrograde that day, and Pluto entering the last decan of Capricorn. And Capricorn is about the looking into the future, into the goals. What are my goals? Where am I heading? Which mountain am I climbing, really? And Jupiter going retrograde for that period of a couple months, 4 months, not a couple months, is that looking deep within and asking the question of what is my truth really? What does my soul want? What does my soul want? It's going to be a very soulful time with Jupiter in Scorpio. And there's going to be almost a higher level. It's going to kick into higher gear with Pluto moving into the third decan of Capricorn. The element of the inner alchemy, with Pluto in the picture, is that alchemical process from within to move you towards the top of the mountain. We are looking at ascension time here, and we got to go up on the elevator. And so what is not taking you up on the ascension process? And ascension is nothing too mystical at all. The ascension is merely your own process of becoming the master of your own life. That's how I see it. And that's how we help humanity and the collective to ascend and to elevate. So Jupiter is going to be in retrograde from March until July, and looking deep within, really my inner truth. Where is my growth? Where do I need to grow? What do I need to transform in order to grow? What am I afraid of that I can now bring onto the surface and face, penetrate head on, and transform into my greatest gift, into an opportunity? Jupiter is opportunity. It's those greatest opportunities for us. And we also seeing here that Mars is about to finish in Sagittarius, 25 degrees Sagittarius. There's a mutual reception with Jupiter and Mars, Jupiter being in Scorpio and Mars being in Sagittarius. So this is a great time for action. An action that is driven, that is inspired by your own truth. In Sagittarius is action that is driven by this new horizons that you are reaching for yourself, the highest peaks, the highest elevations that you want to reach within your own consciousness, within your own life. And when we each do that, humanity just keeps going higher and higher, and finding more truth and really living according to natural law. Like that's Sagittarius, that's Jupiter. And the action steps that we need to implement, that we need to take in our own individual lives and together collectively and in our relationships to follow those natural laws, to be inspired by those natural laws, to really find the truth behind it and live by it. We're going to be called more and more towards really spending time in nature and connecting to the natural cycles of life. And that's a great transformation that could come from it. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of expansion that could come with it. So much wisdom that we can really bring into ourselves from doing that. So wanted to bring that up and talk about that time of Jupiter in retrograde, and shortly after this time, actually, Mars is going to go retrograde. And I mean, maybe I'll do another presentation on that, because in 2018, both Mars and Venus are going to be in retrograde. That doesn't happen often, that both Mars and Venus are in retrograde in the same year. But Mars is going to be in retrograde from June until August of 2018. And Mars is going to retrograde at the beginning of August back into Capricorn. So we're going to have both Pluto and Mars in Capricorn, and Mars retrograding. Both of those rulers of Scorpio are going to be in Capricorn. So we're going to have a lot of that earth and water and the depth of our own being versus where am I going? What is this peak that I'm climbing and reaching? How am I growing? This is going to be an amazing time, really, for great achievements, inner achievements, not just outer, but inner achievements that, of course, are going to lead to great achievements on the external, again, individually and collectively. But we've got to remember, and I know this time is going to be challenging for many of us. The collective consciousness is definitely going to go through some elements of challenge. And with Jupiter in Scorpio is the depth of our faith, you guys, really, right? To really strengthen our faith and our believing in a brighter future, Where are we going? It's the vision of a brighter future. And Mars in Sagittarius here is the optimism that we can all learn to cultivate within ourselves. And now here, what I mentioned earlier with the water trines. So Jupiter, this is November 7th, the day before Jupiter actually moves out of Scorpio, because Jupiter is going to go into Sagittarius on November 8th. So this is the last degree of Scorpio on November 7th. The day before that, November 6th, is when the nodes shift. So November 6th is we're going to have a nodal shift. Cancer and Capricorn, North Node in Cancer, 29th, and on November 7th, right before the day Jupiter leaves Scorpio, there's a trine, not a coincidence, trine of Jupiter to the North Node. Very emotional time for us individually, collectively, looking at our emotions and really embracing them. But also, again, a great time for us to connect to the depth of who we are as emotional creatures, to embrace our emotional nature when the North Node is going to be in Cancer throughout 2018 and into 2019. That will be heightened, of course, embracing our inner child, embracing our emotional nature. And after Jupiter moving throughout the year through Scorpio, where we're going to get in touch with the depth of what it is that we feel, what it is that is inside of us, deep within, and creating this different or new level of intimacy with our own depth, with our own soul. And North Node in Cancer is so the nurturing of our own emotional nature, and the nurturing that we can give each other by embracing our emotions, by embracing our depth, all of it, by creating more intimacy, like I said. And that does require an element of the transformation of self, and for each and every one of us to learn how to embrace that within ourselves, all of it, all of the shadows, all of the lights, and be our own personal alchemist. And this is going to be definitely a day to remember as well. November of 2018 is quite the time, and we're going to have a new moon in Scorpio on the 18th. Actually, Jupiter is going to be out of Scorpio already, but that's going to be this new beginning, so to speak, of a new transformed self, a new level of self-mastery, a master that is going to be born from within. And also, Jupiter is the guru. It's the inner guru, and an inner guru that is the master, that this is the opportunity to bring life, to really birth a new master for yourself, and live as that master, and live as that inner guru that we all have within us. And that's all with Jupiter in Scorpio, at least for this presentation. If you'd like to know more about me, you can find me on my website, noalakshmi.com. And I would love to hear from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Noa. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Would you like to take a few questions or comments?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Could you please click on stop share at the top of the screen?
I will do that. Okay.
Great. So anyone with a question or a comment?
Noa, that was beautiful. That was amazing. That was everything you're working on and looking at and studying and trying to share with everyone. It's a beautiful message. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate that.
I'm looking forward to replaying it and taking notes and all of that. Can you say anything, Noah, about just in general Jupiter crossing the South Node?
Jupiter crossing the South Node.
In the 7th or anywhere.
Are you talking natal chart?
Yes, Jupiter transiting.
Oh, the okay.
Natal chart, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it really depends also which sign. You said 7th house?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's definitely an element of relationships there, and the opportunity to grow and evolve and expand the ways that a person is doing relationships. With the South Node, there's definitely some karmic elements to it, relationships from the past, perhaps people from the past coming back, or people that you've had connections with for a while. There's just an opportunity for growth. So there's karmic elements there, and to grow from those experiences.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, you rock, Divine Noa. That was amazing presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey Noa, it's Carly. Yeah, I second what the other ladies have said. Yeah, you got shivers quite a few times there. Yeah, you really have a beautiful way of communicating, especially I really get that Mars energy from you, that Plutonian vibe, and I think it's just wonderful having you in the community, and I just think you're going to be just such a huge star for EA and astrology moving forward, and you already are.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Carly. I appreciate that.
It's all good.
Okay, it looks like that brings us to the end of your meeting, Noa. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you in the future. And so would you all please thank Noa Lakshmi?
Thank you.
So much.
Yay.
So
Love.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Noa.